Well, hello, everyone. April, the LOVEologist here. Give me just a second. Let me hit that record button. I am so excited to be back here at Ask the LOVEologist with all of you. And as I promised before, I said I would have one guest, maybe two. Well, I'm excited that I have two lovely young women here to help me with our topic for today. I'm April, the LOVEologist. I'm the president and CEO at Authentic Love. And what I do is help all of you highly ambitious professionals who desire to be in an interracial relationship connect with that special someone who's going to be your forever partner. Now, I am also a certified matchmaker and a certified love coach. And I just love helping people with their romantic lives. Now, like I said last time, I have a mission, and my mission is to connect at least 10,000 people with their forever partner. So, if you need my assistance, be sure that you lean into me. I will certainly be there to catch you. And again, today we are on about 5, 6 different platforms, and you can always find me on these different ones. And we'll be doing this on a regular basis on Monday evenings at 6 p.m. Central and 7 p.m. Eastern. So today we're going to talk about interracial relationships. We're going to talk about some of the deep, interesting comments and things that people have on their mind about interracial relationships. And if you have a question about today's topic, please go ahead and put a comment or your question rather in the chat. And also, if you're out there listening, can you please put in the chat where you're listening from so that we can make sure that we have all of our systems working properly here. So if you have questions and maybe you're just a private person, you don't want it out there in public, you're also welcome to send your question to me at the LOVEologist at authenticlove.com, and we'll get that question. We'll send you back an answer. And if it's something that I know that other people would benefit from, I may even just make a training or a video about it so that other people can get that same answer that you did. So today my objective is actually to just discuss some things that you may not be aware of and squash those myths and negative thoughts that are running around in your head. So I have with me today these two lovelies, and I am going to say, Lee and Sonya, do introduce yourselves so we can go ahead and dig into this tough topic, shall I say.
Yes, I am Lee, the transformational health coach, and I help women primarily in their 40s and 50s to get into their best health, get into their best shape, feel their best self, get their confidence, get their sexy back, or get their sexy at all if it was, maybe didn't feel I have that before, but to move forward and not buy into the notion that it's a downhill slope after 40 and it's not going to be good and we should just sit around and anticipate the worst. So that's what I do. I love helping women just to feel their best self and to step forward and embrace this season of their life.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonya LeRae. I'm the president and CEO of La Paz Image Consultants. I'm a lifestyle relationship counselor, fashion psychologist, certified holistic health and wellness coach, motivational speaker, and educator. Plus, I'm the dynamic host of Whispers in a Bottle. I get the pleasure of really working with my clients on a total mind, body, soul kind of way of rebuilding themselves, working into balancing their lives. So it's really just goes hand in hand with everything that I'm doing and really helps you to kind of walk into your life to be able to embrace every element of who you are. So, April, thank you so much for having us as your guest this evening.
You are very welcome. And I know these two ladies are they're just powerful. I want everyone to know that there is more than 40 years of personal experience, wisdom, and professional knowledge amongst the three of us on this platform. And so I am just excited. I want to go ahead and just jump right in. Um, Lee, you are not from the US, and Sonya, you've actually traveled quite extensively. So, what do you ladies see that is different in other cultures from here in America when it comes to interracial relationships? And especially in places where interracial relationships are pretty much the norm, how would you compare it to the US? And what would you say that we here at the US can in the US can do better when it comes to handling or recognizing interracial relationships?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm from the UK and pretty much grew up seeing that for the most part of my life. So it seems fairly normal. You figure that for the most part, Black people have been in the UK, for the most part, in the masses. We're coming up to 75 years in the UK. They're just about to celebrate the Windrush celebrations when people of my parents' generation made the move. And I went to school with biracial children, and I've said to you in the past, I cannot think of any family or friend that does not have somebody in their family that's in an interracial relationship or have biracial grandchildren's nieces or nephews. I can't think of anybody at the top of my head. I'd have to really, really think hard about that. So that's the normalcy of it. And while there were definitely transition issues, there's always transition issue with the new people that come, right? The new wave of people. I represent the new people at that time when I was growing up. But it's definitely a lot more chill. It's a lot more relaxed, and it's not really a conversation at this point, to be honest.
I have to agree with you because a lot of times, because I have traveled extensively, I don't see where it's a big question when it comes to being overseas. It's very normal. It may be kind of like a little odd if you are American and maybe you travel to India and you have more of a Caucasian marrying an Indian. It's a little odd because they're how they see things and how they actually still have things that they arrange marriage still too in place. So there's certain things that are odd as far as that goes. But as far as it goes, I think America, what it is that they just have to let go some of the stigma. And I think when you
Mm,
really look at it from a standpoint of mindset, and I
mm,
talk about that constantly, it has to be to a point where you have to let go of the stigma that it is no more taboo because young people, these little people that are growing up, and even millennials, they don't want to be segregated. They don't want to just marry their own kind. They're interested in everyone and anyone nowadays. So I think as far as it goes, like even from being from a traditional Latin American family, yeah, of course, they're telling you, oh, yeah, your culture, make sure your culture. But when it comes to love, love is love. You're muted.
That's interesting. People that have experienced interracial relationships, they will tell you right off the hat, love is love. But like you said, those stereotypes and things, we as Americans, we just seem to feel like love comes in a variety of colors or a variety of attitudes. And we tend to forget that we're all human. We all got the same blood. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. I hope you do anyway. But we are just stuck in we're really stuck in our heads with things like that. I was talking to a young lady the other day, and it was quite interesting how she said this to me, and this just kind of rocked my boat because, and I'm putting this out there because I don't understand this, and maybe you two have experienced something that'll clarify this for me. She said she'll date the guys from other cultures, but marry them, no. And I understand that back, I don't know, in the early 60s, 50s, 60s, or way back, that seems to be a big issue too. You can hang out with people, you can go party with people, but don't you marry nobody. And I'm like, you're not concerned about being seen with these people or doing things with these people, but you won't marry them. And then you'll wait a minute, and then they'll say, "Oh, we're best buds," and blah 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 blah. I don't comprehend. I don't understand that. How does that not work? Help me out here.
I think a lot of that comes down still to the misconception, constantly having the old mindset of their family. Oh, well, my family would never accept him, or I am not going to be accepted into my community or my friends or whatever. But this is the funny thing that people don't realize. If you're dating this person and you're seen out with them everywhere and they're going to different parties with you, they're already accepted. They've already been accepted by these ones. You are the one now who is the problem because you're embarrassed. You don't know how to handle what you feel because you haven't addressed it appropriately. Or even timely in a fashion of like releasing those old theories of, being set in your way.
One of the girl actually gave me a testimonial too after we chatted, and it was a nice testimonial. And what she said was she just did not realize how entrenched, and it was interesting to me how she used that word, entrenched, in things that she had heard and seen in her younger years, until she talked to me about it. And I was like, well, I was just thrilled that I could loosen up some of that in her head, because we just have so many different things going on in our heads, and things that happen um, in our childhood, or that was said or unsaid. I know, like in my culture, that saying, "Don't you bring no white boy home." And when I was being interviewed on Level Up, what was the man's name? Jay. He said, somebody that was on the panel was saying, "If they can't use my comb, don't bring them home." I'm like, what kind of mess is this? But the thing about it is, if you're wanting to be in an interracial or intercultural relationship, you do need to have tough skin. Not that you need to be ready to fight everybody, but you got to have tough skin, and you got to realize people are going to stare. People are going to make off comments. One of them that you really got to be prepared for is older people making off comments. And you just got to know when to go with the flow and pay attention to when it could be some type of negative or verbal aggression, shall I say. But for the most part, for me and my experiences, they've been good experiences. um
You
I
know,
noticed. Go ahead.
I was going to say something. When you said that, be prepared for what people have to say. This is one thing I want people to really understand now. Who cares what they have to say? In all honesty, you don't owe anybody an explanation, nor do you need to run a thesaurus through your life or to your decision of who you're loving. So, my thing is this is that once you know that this is the person that you are in love with, that you really are in sync with, it comes to a point of like, do you really understand their culture? Are you willing to really step outside of your boundaries and understanding what it means to love someone from a different culture, what it feels like, what it smells like, what it tastes like? Because I think the biggest problem when it comes to a lot of times when you deal with interracial couples, it's a closed minded of like, well, you have to come my way or I have to come your way. But it's never where it's give and take. It's that happy medium. So I think the biggest conversation needs to really come about of like, where are you going to meet in the middle of the street? Because if you can't meet in the middle of the street and you can't meet in a safe lane, what both of you all are going to get run over and somebody's going to be a casualty.
Now, Lee, you were married for over 20 years. I know you already said that where you're from, things are pretty much just normal. But you and your husband were from different backgrounds. What kind of things did you guys have to adjust to?
Yeah, I think it was just. I think it's just some people were more direct, and it was just you could observe the discomfort and confusion of people. Um, but he, frankly, he didn't care at all. He absolutely did not care. Had no regard for what people thought. And I even said to him, when it looked like the direction we were going in, I'm like, "You sure this is what you want to do? Because your life would be a whole lot easier if you just went out with, you know, married somebody of your own flock, so to speak." And he's like, "I don't care." Just really didn't care. Had been through enough in his life that he knew what he wanted, and he was never embarrassed or ashamed to be hanging out with, say, all my family or whatever, and he just didn't care.
See,
So you people will always make silly remarks about anything, and sometimes just comes from a place of not knowing. And I actually prefer the direct comments because rather than something silly, just be direct and um, it's just interesting. We all have stories running in our head about whatever, depending on where we grew up, who we grew up with, what our experience was, or who we saw, what you heard. I came to America and heard different things about different ethnic groups of whom I'd never encountered in my life. And I thought, well, that's interesting, but maybe I'll make my own judgment rather than just what everybody else said about certain groups. I found that the things that people implied or said about other groups has not been my experience. So, check it out for yourself, in other words.
well, I really appreciate that comment you just made, because one of the things I try to impress on people is that when you're with a person who really loves you, that person that really wants you, they're going to come after you. They're not going to back down. And if they have to stand up to people, even if it's their parents or their siblings, they are going to do it. They're going to do what they need to do to protect you as well. That's one of the things that I hear a lot of concerns about is, from the ladies particularly, they're concerned about whether the guy's going to stand up for them. And one of the things that I've found is that in interracial relationships, guys seem to be ready to stand up for you. As I was telling one lady the other day, you know, the guy that you're seeing that you just think he's not interested in you, I guarantee you he's already counted the cost and he's ready to step across that line if you will let him. And that's just how I really believe that because we are stepping into interracial relationships, a lot of times you may not realize that the other person has already made up their mind. And sometimes it's you, like Sonya was saying, that needs to make up your mind. Am I going to do this or not? Am I going to stand firm in this or not? And when the person really loves you, if y'all can get that strong bond in your relationship, you can deal with all the junk on the outside. You really
And
can.
April, it's funny you say that because I think when you think about it, right? When you take people in general, and they did a study like this that they took couples and they were from different areas, even from different countries. They didn't even speak the same language or anything. And they put them together for literally 3 months that they just only had each other, and they saw real bonds and real connection drawn by these people that had come together because they got to know each other from a standpoint instead of superficial, now in a place in a space where you get to know them on a deeper level. And I think a lot of times that's what half the problem is. People are enamored with the thought of
Mm.
interracial dating. They're
Yeah.
enamored with it, but in all essence of the reality of it and the totality of it, they don't get how deep it really is. That's a connection of a heartstring that you're connecting with a person. That's a connection to a culture that you're connecting with a person. And that's a mindset that you're connecting with a person. So it's a totality that people don't realize, and that they fall in this place and space of oh, fantasy. Everything is from the novels, everything is from The Bachelorette, everything is from that standpoint of society looking, but not from actuality looking.
And also, if even when you meet somebody and you both realize that you're really into each other, it is a good time for you to get to know each other before you start introducing each other around to family and stuff. Now I know in I was listening to this guy talk the other day, and he was like, well, if you're dating me, you're going to meet my family. And I was like, I wonder how soon he springs that on her.
He
But
said today.
yeah. So it's really good for you to really get to know each other, and that's how you build that bond to where you have each other's back too. Let me throw some other statistics and stuff here at you. In an article in Washington Post, October of 2021, the title of the article was, "We're talking about a big powerful phenomenon: multicultural Americans drive change." So in this article, what I found was 24.8 million people identify as multicultural. 19.3 million people identify as white. 2.2 million identify as black. And it had some other statistics there, but these were what was of interest to me. One of the things that couples come in contact with is either their parents or their grandparents will often raise the question, what about children? Have you thought about how this will affect your children? And they kind of seem to be concerned about how the children will identify, or if the children, shall I say, will identify with their side of the family. So when your children, oh Lord, excuse me, when your children were young, were there any particular events or conversations or activities that occurred that you did to help your children understand and function confidently in their identity? Or was it just not an issue at all?
Now, for my children, and I've seen this in even children that have been adopted by parents of another race. They don't, especially as kids, they don't initially see that. They just see that parent as their parent. They're not really aware of color or anything. I've seen it in kids that have been adopted, maybe from Asia, or there were black children adopted by whomever. They just identified with that person as their mother and almost really didn't notice the difference. My kids kind of identified with their dad. Um, they just see themselves as that person they're looking at, even if that person doesn't look like them. Um, and so I just wanted, not necessarily, I guess to some extent, ethnicity, but because I don't have family in this country, I made a point of having my kids go to where I was from so they could know my culture, my side of the family, and because I think it's a great culture, and I just wanted them to have exposure on both sides, and they can pick who they want to be, and um, they're just people at the end of the day. And as time goes on, and it depends where they go to school or where they hang out or what they're watching on TV or where you live, that also, I think, cultivates a little bit how they see themselves. But I didn't really make any noises about anything. And it just, this is your parents, this is where we live, this is who we are. Just kind of left it like that. Because I want them to be able to, like with a lot of things, be able to kind of figure things out for themselves. I mean, I was in a position where I was in a looking after kids in pre-K, K at the church I went to, very, very multicultural church. Kids from all over the world. And they don't know about zip codes, socioeconomics, race. They were just kids that were playing together. And I was like, this is really beautiful. I'm not sure when this changes, but they're at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They just saw each other as kids. That was it.
I can say that well, this is the funny thing. So my little person, uh she identified as just a baby. They're all babies. They don't care. But she didn't know there was a difference until she went to school. And one of her classmates asked her, "Well, who's the white lady that drops you off?" And she said, "Who?" And she said, "Who's the white lady that drops you off?" And my daughter is Moreno. She's like, she's brown. She has melanin to her skin. And she said, "Well, I only come here with my mommy." And she said, "That lady's not your mommy." And she said, "Well," so then she was confused because she didn't know, because maybe she was with a teacher, you know. So after school, she brought the student to me and she said, "This is my mommy." And I said, "Oh, well, hello, how are you?" She said, "You're her mom?" And I said, "Yes, I am." So when we got home, my daughter said, "Well, I wanted to know, well, who is the white lady that I come to school with?" And I was like, "Well, who's that?" She said, "That's you." And I was, "Oh." I said, "Well, I'm not white, And she says, "I know, we're Spanish like that." And I said, "Well, you're Hispanic and I'm Latin American." I said, "But you're me and daddy's baby." And so she sat and thought about it for a little while. But for a little while she was confused because she didn't understand, like, what was the matter? This is just my mom, you know. So we fast forwarded from just being this little, 5-year-old being addressed of that way to now when she's 9 years old, she's standing into who she is. She knows that she is biracial. She knows that she's multicultural and she's proud of it. And it's because we lead with every part of our life that is everything that we love about who we are and what we are, but especially of the love that we pour upon her. So she has no issue with it whatsoever now. And when other kids are having a hard time or they're like, "Well, I don't know because I don't know what I am." And she was like, "Well, yeah, you do. You're so and so. And that's who you are." And I think when you as a person can identify and accept yourself whole, and see, that's the problem. When you're speaking about interracial anything, see, it's not about anything else but being able to accept yourself whole and that person as whole that makes that child healthy. And those that are battling and not sure where they are, if I'm black, if I'm white, if I'm Spanish, if I'm Greek, if I'm, you know, if you can accept every element of your life and celebrate that makes you you, you don't have to pick and choose. You don't ever have to pick and choose because you live in that purpose every day.
You know, my daughter, I never felt like she was having any type of crisis, but she did long to know about her dad's country because she never lived with her dad. To this day, she's never lived with her dad. And so she really, really wanted to know about his country and things like that. So, to your point that you just gave, Sonia, I think is extremely important for both parents to share their cultures with their children. And I know there's this one couple. The guy is Jewish, the girl is African American, and she's from here. And what they do is they have their children, they share the knowledge of all the culture with their children, and they let their children choose what kind of things that they want to do or whatever. And the thing is, the children just identify as human. And a lot of people don't realize how fast this thing is growing about multiracial, multicultural, whatever words you want to use this week. Um, because this is fastly becoming the norm here in the United States. That's why we have 24.8 million people identifying as multiracial. And I
Well,
can't wait until the day they take that darn race thing off of job applications and other kind of applications. I can't wait, Lord.
well, I will tell you guys that my daughter says now when people ask her, "Well, what are you?" She says, "I'm multi-platinum."
Oh, there you go.
And they go, "What?" And she says, "I'm multi-platinum. I'm rich with everything that you possibly could think of." And they are blown away when she says that, and she doesn't elaborate, she doesn't go any further than just that. And I'm like, she came up with that on her own, and I'm like,
That's great.
yeah, I like that. I was like, I like that.
I would tell people that my kids were uh, sugar and spice and all things nice.
Oh, I love it.
Do you ladies mind sharing with people what heritage or background your men have?
Sure.
Sure.
So
So
my oh,
go
go on,
ahead.
Lee. Go on.
Oh, okay. So my kids identify as well. I'm born in the UK. I'm Jamaican, but Dad was I think it was second generation here and Eastern European and Russian Jew.
Okay.
My husband is African American and Italian.
Hmm.
And so the point I want to make right here is that when you find that person, if you communicate and you spend that time together and you get to know each other, you can have things work. You don't have to make it work. My
Okay.
my husband was Ghanaian. So
Okay.
if you understand things about relationships, marriage, and dating, it can work for you. It really can. Ladies, let's take a commercial break here. I'm not sure which one of you would like to go first, but tell us about your business, what you got going on, what you would like people to connect with you about. Just tell us whichever one of you would like to go first.
Sonia, go for it.
So I have a lot going on, everyone. So my name is Sonya Leray. I'd love for you to join me on Instagram at La Paz Imaging. We are a full service luxury agency, and we have some great things coming up. Matter of fact, we're in the process of actually building out a great workshop that is actually going to be a beautiful discussion because it's going to be about stop playing or downplaying your mindset, because a lot of times with people, that's what they do. They downplay their mindset. They don't want to come in and really shine and be the diamonds that they are. And then on top of it, we're really building the mindset for women. We're helping you to gain your millionaires mindset, and that does not mean we're going to be teaching you your finances. It's about your mind around money. It's about things that keep you blocked from feeling that you are entitled to have the money to reach your best and be your best. The link that is at the bottom of the screen, it's lapazimageconsultants.ck.page. And you put that in, and I'm telling you, just come join. The information is just powerful. We're really delivering it in a way that it's digestible. And I always tell people that I want to give you a full diet, but something that is not hard to digest. And it's the same way that we bring everything to life inside of our agency. It all goes hand in hand because we're about mind, body, soul connection. And it's very important for me. And then I'm celebrating because Friday the 23rd is the season finale of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. It's Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This season has been none other than like blowing, shattering. It's been a little bit of everything. It's been so good. And I just appreciate everybody in April. I appreciate you always showing support, always loving on us, and just showing up in your authentic manner as well. And I can't tell you how much I love just working with you, period, and being able to bring real discussions to life. So thank you so much. Lee, I return the mic to you.
Hold on, Lee.
Thanks.
Hold on, Lee. Wait. All right. You hurt my feelings. You didn't talk about the beauty bag.
Oh, Oh, yes, I know, right? So let me tell you guys, every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's Hey Sonya, what's in the beauty bag on La Paz Image Consultants. It's La Paz Imaging. And literally, ladies, I'm breaking it down to you. I'm telling you everything about your beauty bag. I'm helping you with your skin. I'm helping you. We talk about our beautiful butterflies, these gorgeous lashes. I taught them about baking. What is baking? And it's not just for your cakes. So lean into me every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at La Paz Imaging. I'm telling you, we have a good time. Bring your lunch, bring your cocktails or your mocktails, and your beauty bags and your notebooks. I'm telling you, it's great. Thank you, April.
Thank you. Go ahead, Lee. Thank you. Lee, tell us all about what's going on with you because I don't know what all is going on with you.
Well, you definitely should go and see Sonia's What's in the Bag. I was there last week with pen and paper making notes because there was a lot that was covered. So I did have to write it down. I'm on Instagram at Coaching by Lee and busy finishing up some books right now. One that's about to launch, actually, that's all about my nursing career. So that's going to be it'll be on my Instagram page. And I know I'm very excited. That's my first book. And I'm also in a collaborative book. It's going to be called Healthopedia, and I'm doing a chapter in there that's also based on health. And again, the women that I focus on, which is women in their 40s and 50s. So that's a collaborative book, and that's very exciting. So that's what I'm working on there. And then I do wellness, not just what you eat, but it's also going to be about mindset. There's a lot of work there. That's probably where most of the work is, because I can tell you to eat this, not that, but it's really going to be about the way that you see yourself and what you want for yourself. And so I really focus in, lean into women to let's go deep inside, because I believe it's an inside job. However, we show up on the outside for ourselves, and to get to the bottom of what holds us back from getting our best in our life, in our health, in our body, and then how we show up for ourselves to do and be the best that we want to be for ourselves, for our family, for our children, spouses, spices, whoever it is that's in your life, in your business as well, because we're the face of whatever we're doing. And so that's what I love doing. So finishing up my books, coaching people one-on-one, as well as work with you, done with you type of program where you have a bit more autonomy, but you can still get the support that you need. So you can always go to Coaching by Lee on Instagram and see the links there, and see all what I'm doing. So that's what I'm all about. Eating and wellness. That's really all I talk about. Eating and wellness, and feeling your best self, and really self growth as well, which is really exciting, especially at this season of life.
I just love hanging out with both of you because Lee will tell you what to do with your mature body, and Sonya will tell you how to get it beat good. But these women are powerful women. And I'm just going to encourage you definitely to go check them both out on Instagram. If you can't find them on the other places, go check them out on Instagram. Make sure you follow them. Go to their websites. Go have consultations with them. They have the goods, let me tell you. And their goods work. Whatever they're trying to help you transform, change, improve, or whatever, you are going to see results. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I'm April, the LOVEologist, and I'm your host. I'm the president and CEO at Authentic Love, and I'm a certified matchmaker and a certified love coach. We have a exciting program going on right now that I want to invite you to. So many of you have said you're just tired of the swiping, and you're tired of meeting people that just don't qualify. They're not at your level when it comes to education or finances or lifestyle. And you're just tired of it, and you're just tired of having to sift through people and sift and sift and sift. So I have a program called the Emerald, and I'm going to tell you, you want to contact me on Instagram and make sure that you find out about this, because we are doing this. We just opened up the matchmaking arm of my business. Therefore, this is not going to be giving you the same stuff that it's going to always give you. For example, unlimited matches, okay? Allow me to do the vetting for you. And then you don't have to worry about it. Or at least you won't have to go through a million people to find one or two. So make sure you connect with me on Instagram at Authentic Love, or on Instagram it says April the Loveologist, so I can tell you all of the deep details about the Emerald program. Because I know you guys are tired of struggling and you want to be in interracial relationships. And Lord, all these people that are saying to me, where do I find them? Where do I find them? You're going to have to join me next week, because next week I'm going to give you a little hint about where to find them. Okay? So,
Look, you don't want to miss it. Lean into this woman. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. Trying to convince her to do a boot camp. I'm really trying to convince her of it.
well, be sure that you're there next week. I'm going to tell you that. And also, another thing that is going to happen next week is that if you don't really know me next week, I'm going to really let you get to know me, because next week's session is actually on the anniversary that I celebrate every year for myself. So, yes, you will really get to learn about me if you don't know who April the Loveologist is. Thank you for sharing with us all of your wisdom and insights here and things that you have to offer. Let's hop back in. Um, I want to know this. This has been on my mind for weeks, that I've been wanting to get other people's point of view on. In your relationships, when it comes to having disagreements, because it doesn't matter, twins disagree, don't they?
Right.
When it
Hmm.
comes to having disagreements in your particular household or your particular interracial romance relationship, is there a certain way or certain things that happen for that help you to solve a disagreement? Tell me about that.
So, for us, we're not like a argument kind of family. We're not. We're like a talk it out kind of family. So, we will talk about a little bit of anything. Ugh, just you just have no idea. But I think when you deal with a Latin American woman, we have a quick temper, right? We got a quick temper. We come in hot. But my husband, he is different. He is kind of he has a nice way that he's calm. He's calm no matter what. Even if I'm upset and I'm kind of like getting like a little like this is ridiculous. How is this? You know, he'll say, "Okay, well, all right." He'll sit there and let me talk, and then he'll say, "So how are we gonna fix it? What you gonna do? What is it?" And from there, it just is like we just get to the drawing board of whatever it is that is really bothering me or bothering him. Or he'll say, "I need to talk to you." When he uses that tone, I'm like, "Oh, what did I do now?" Because 9 times out of 10, I did something. And I'm like, I show up and I take it, and I'm like, "Okay, all right." But we don't. I don't think we don't have like that kind of friction like that. I think because we're both very chill people, that sometimes it's hard, because when you have two people that are so chill, is sometimes, even if there is a problem, we may not say anything, and then one day we'll be like, "Hey, by the way, let me tell you something," and then it's like, "What?" Like, what? It's one of those.
So, Lee, did you have any particular way of solving disagreements, or not
Yeah.
necessarily that they were arguments, but maybe he wanted to do one thing and you wanted to do something else? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to those kind of things, I think we carry what we learned at home and how we maybe saw things in our own families, or what you wanted to avoid and you did something else. I found just talking, just having a discussion about things. He was not a particularly. I think I was. we just talked about things. Really, there was a lot of little give and take along the way. And I also was all very mindful. You know, you've got children there, and I want them to learn how people communicate. So I was always very aware that you are modeling behavior when you've got children present. And so, they may act like they're not noticing, but that they are taking it all in. So I am very mindful of that. They're little sponges, and they listen and they notice. And one of my little girls at the time when she was little asked me a question, because I had two girls that were, they were all over everything. I just had to be very mindful of what I said or did. And one of them asked me one time, "So, is Daddy in charge or are you in charge?" Hmm.
Doesn't that seem to be the question? Isn't that the question of like the century? Who's the
Yeah,
boss? Oh, wait, who's the
right.
boss?
And I had to come up with you know, a diplomatic answer. So,
This
yeah.
has been my experience in my own intercultural relationships or interracial relationships, as well as what I have observed and heard from other people, is that in this type of relationship, you really find the two people, or if you're the woman, the guys really want to make sure that you are happy. They like to see the smile on your face. Let me just tell you, this just popped into my head. I was not dating this young man, but when I moved into the apartment complex that I was in when I first come out the hospital, there was this young man that lived above me, and he would come and do stuff for me. He took out my trash for me because, in case you didn't know, I couldn't walk. My hip was broke. I couldn't walk very well. So he would come and take out my trash, or I would call him and say, "Can you come move this for me?" or whatever. But as I began to get better in my health, I actually bought, yeah, this desk right here and this office chair. And when after I ordered them, I was like, "Oh crap, who's gonna put this together for me?" So I sent him a message on the phone and I said, "Can you come and put my desk and my chair together for me?" He was like, "Well, I can do that on whatever day," he said. And I was like, "Okay." So the day comes and he comes down and he puts the chair together. And like I said, I can't walk well. So I really learned the value of that saying that goes, "Your man just wants you to sit there and look pretty." Because, see, that's all I could do was sit there and look pretty and maybe do a little supervisor. But when he got it put together, let me tell you, I was so excited. I was wishing so bad that I could go out and turn flips. I was just so excited. I had been wanting a glass desk for the longest, and I was just so excited when he got it finished. And I said, "So what can I pay you? What do I owe you?" He said, "Just that smile on your face is enough." And he gives me this big hug and wouldn't let me go either. And I was like, "Darn, he's just too young, but help me." He was fine though.
But I think that's it. That's it in a nutshell. There's attraction, period. And it's the joy that you have with the person that it crosses anything. I mean, disagreement, whatever, it just crosses it. I don't know. I don't know how it is that it gets so marred. Like even the same race or whatever, that it has to be this tug of war. I gotta win. Nobody wins when it's like that. But if you have one that's willing to kind of bend a little bit and there's that flexibility, you just don't know how far that goes across the board. So I think, like how you said, he just wanted to see that smile. He wanted to see you happy. Every relationship, if it's a healthy relationship, that's what men love. They love to see their women happy. They love to see their women smiling, and it could be the smallest of things. Let me tell you, my husband, the joke around here, everybody, and April knows, the big joke around here is my husband bought me a vacuum for my anniversary. I was so thrilled over that vacuum. You would have thought he had bought me a brand new car. It was the vacuum I had been eyeing. I kept looking at it. I was like, oh, I'm going to get this vacuum. And lo and behold, on my anniversary, there it was. I was thrilled. His friends were like, you going to, oh, she going to be so mad with you. I can't believe you would go buy her a vacuum. He was like, okay. They said, well, she was, I called up their wife and I'm like, guess what I got? He said, what did you get? What? I know you got something good. I was like, I got a brand new Dyson vac. They said, are you talking about a vacuum that you vacuum the floor with? I was like, yes. And they were like, wait, I know you're so, I said, no, this was the best gift he could have given me. I was like, I'm done. Hmm, I'm happy. But
And see,
see,
that's the, go ahead.
that's the thing in a nutshell. Like, you don't it's just like they know you in that way.
And that's what I was about to say too. That's the thing. As you grow together and you get to know each other and you know what buttons to leave alone and what buttons you might have to push, maybe in fun, it just becomes a wonderful, wonderful, and like you said, a healthy relationship. Let me relay another story to you, talking about how men just want to see you happy. There was this older man that was like 80 something years old, and his granddaughter was like an adult. But she was like, so, granddad, why do you still work a full time job? He said, you see that lady over there, pointing to his wife? I don't ever want her to have to not be able to live at the level that she has always been used to. So as long as there is breath in my body, I will continue to work. I was like, oh my God. This man is just to make sure that his wife is happy and comfortable. So a lot of these preconceived ideas that we have are just wrong. You just got to get in there and get to know the person and get along with the person and let things just happen positively.
I think you got to be willing to just even step out of your comfort zone. You know, there's comfort and discomfort. And I know people say that all the time, but there's real comfort in discomfort because you're going to step out a little bit. You're going to have a little bit of those growing pains. But guess what? You're going to grow into something that's dynamic. But if you don't seem to connect on that level, you've grown into an experience. And that's what people forget, that you get to have an experience because you may not have ever got to travel over to another country. You may have never experienced that culture, that food, that type of love, or how they do certain things. Or, maybe they feel that, you're so beautiful, you should cover your face because you're so beautiful and I don't want everybody lusting after you. But you don't even understand how much they are revering you in such a way. And you're thinking, oh, he's trying to manipulate me.
Or trying to
But
control me.
yeah, but you don't understand how dynamic that is and how precious that is held with inside of that. So I think a lot of times it comes down to allowing yourself to be that uncomfortable so you can be that diamond and that brilliance in that light.
Yes, yes. I have two more things I want to cover. We're kind of close to the end of the hour, but I have two more things that I want to cover. I hope you ladies have a look about another 15 minutes. I hope.
Sure.
Um, One of those things is this, and Sonia, I know you can really, really speak to this, but I want to hear both of your responses on this. One of the things that is highly, highly important for a couple to talk about and get as squared away as possible before they get married is religion. So, talk to me about the religious aspect. You don't have to talk particularly from your relationship, but that role of religion and how it can make or break a relationship. I'm going to be quiet and let y'all go.
Whew, let's see. Lee, you want to have first or?
Sure. It depends what it means to you. Some people they'll only marry somebody if that's what it's going to be, of somebody of the similar or same faith, if it's that important, right? Depends how much it leads, versus tradition and culture, or what your parents did, or what your potential in-laws do, and what it means to them. So yes, it is important because it's going to steer the direction of your life, and then when children come in, which direction do they go in? If one is stronger and the other person just going along, so it's important, like pretty much anything else, that is discussed, um, because especially if they're very dynamically different things, or maybe the girl or the boy doesn't follow a particular faith, but maybe she comes from a family where that's very strong. And I've known of couples where they almost had to excommunicate from their family, so to speak, or families kind of disown them somewhat because they weren't marrying somebody of the same traditional faith. So I've known at least two families that they went ahead and got married, and they didn't have the blessing of the families, and went out and still happily married to today. So you have to decide from the very early on what direction you want to go in, and if you're going to pursue that or not, because it will, like a lot of things, politics or where you might live or whatever it is, it's going to come up eventually, and figure those things out really, really, really early, so you don't get in too deep emotionally, and then you've got some very hard decisions to make.
So I'm gonna tell you. So this is the thing. These are deal breakers. These are real deal breakers. And as I work with clients and I teach them this, is especially as a therapist, it's important that you have the discussion first and foremost. It's a very important thing. So it doesn't matter if you're not religious or you have like, I'm just, I'm open. But see, you can be open to anything, but then when it comes to a little life, that little person, there's a dynamics that happens that is more powerful than anything else that you will experience in that relationship. Even beyond that, I do. That is beyond that, I do. Because if there's a person who has customs, traditions, real plant, and their base is in religious belief, they're going to want to pass that culture, that belief, that whole system to them as well. It behooves you to really sit and dissect that conversation totally. But the one mistake that people forget to do is to put it in writing. It doesn't allow you to go back and backpedal, and it does not allow them to overstep because you have clearly set the correct boundaries. And see, most couples do not do this. This is all a part of your negotiations of marriage. It's much like if you was joining in and you were going to sign a prenup. In that prenup, there's certain things that are stipulated that are going to be done if you are an infidel, or if you decide that this is no longer working for you, unforeseeable differences, and it's going to dissolve. You have it in a contract of what that person is going to take from it or what they're not. The same difference when it comes into believing and setting your life up for success and your legacy, because see, that's what those kids are. Those kids are your legacy. So are you going to really start the legacy off with a friction, a diversity of like arguing and a manipulation? Or are you going to have a clear game plan that's already put in place and both people are on the same page? So that's how serious that is. And I really work with clients to get to understand that if you don't have that contract and you don't have that bond, it doesn't matter what you say. When you're in the throngs of love and the heat of passion, it goes out the door when the little person comes into play.
Wow. Write it down. My. This is a real serious part, and I really want people to know that this is something that really needs to be discussed, especially when it's intercultural from country to country. This type of relationship. Um, this other thing that I wanted to talk about is the importance of having a support system. A lot of people seem to think that their support system is just their family and friends, but when you're dealing with an interracial relationship, your family and friends may not be the most important support system that you need, because when your support system is just people from your culture or just people from your tiny little tribe, they're gonna probably be biased. So my thing is, we have to be careful about the fact that we need to have a support system also of people who have experienced and understand interracial or intercultural relationships. So tell me how important you think a support group is, and or maybe people just don't need one at all. Maybe they should just jump right in these things. Of course, I don't agree with that. But talk to us about the importance of a support group and having that support group be people that are involved or have been involved in intercultural relationships.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you both this. How important is it to you to have a physician?
That's a hard question, but okay.
But I'm
Very.
saying no. How important is it for you to have a physician?
Very
Because
important.
if exactly, but if it's not important for you to have a physician,
And the
that
right
means
kind of
that
position.
right, but that means that your health is not your priority.
Oh,
Mm.
ouch.
So if it's not your priority, then your relationship isn't either. Because see, a support system is just as important as a physician. And if you don't have the right support, you should know if you're a woman, if you don't have the right bra on, you don't have the right support, your boobs are not sitting up right, and your back problems and everything else. If you're a man and you got a job that you do heavy lifting and you don't have the right support and you're lifting incorrectly, you know the injury and you know the pain that you go through in that way. So, in turn, it would behoove you to really have a clear support system in place. But not just a support system of my best friend George said, because your best friend George does not have all the answers. It would be best that if you know someone who has dealt with different couples from different areas, be it from a therapist to an interracial love coach to anyone who is in maybe spiritual realm, or even these now they have groups that are made for couples that are entering into that interracial space and place. They have groups for it now in almost every city you go to.
Mm.
The best thing I can tell you is that your support system is going to be such your lifeline, and you'll thank yourself in the long run.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Now,
have people around you that genuinely care for you, genuinely care.
Lee, I know your husband went to Glory. What did you find out about your support group when this fell into your hands, with dealing with him going to Glory and having to deal with two children as well?
Yeah, that was an interesting time. Sometimes the people that show up are not the people you expected. You just didn't think they would, and sometimes the people that you thought would didn't, because of course it's they're probably thinking, well, if that can happen to her, that can happen to me, and for many it can be uncomfortable, and it's not a subject people want to necessarily deal with. I did go and seek professional help as well, because those people have signed up to listen to you. Your outpouring, and that your friends are really not really equipped for that. They can take it up to a point, but they're not equipped. And it's a lot to expect them to do. So people helped in different ways. And some people were very good about saying, I can do this, 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 and this. These are the things I'm able to do. If it's pick up groceries, I could do this. And that's very helpful, because then I knew what I could ask them to do. And rather than say, is anything I can do, which what is, I don't know what anything is. Anything is could be a lot of things. So it's helpful to tell people exactly what you can do, what you're prepared to do, and if they can use that, they know who to call. The anything is very vague, and if you don't mean to be of any help at all, just don't say that at all. Like, if there's anything, if you know that you cannot do that. And it's also sometimes very hard for people to ask you for help for things because they don't want to burden you and what have you. But definitely seek professional help wherever you can, if that's offered or you have opportunity to access that. And then, when you've got children at home, you still have to keep doing what you need to be doing because at the end of the day, they still have to eat, they still got to go to schools, laundry still has to be done. Everything, everyday stuff still has to happen. And so, I think we had good support in our community from whether school or church or neighbors. And so I found people who could be supportive, but I also didn't have huge expectations because I think it's very hard for other people to handle. It's uncomfortable. It's not a subject people want to talk about. And get the help where you can. That I would definitely encourage, to seek organizations that offer that and take advantage of that, because there is a period of time where you just need to talk or be with somebody or cry or whatever it is that you need. So get it wherever it is offered. And for those who don't offer it or can't deal with it, it's okay. It's just people do what they can do.
I know one of the things that I just do not like to hear is, I'm so sorry for your loss. Jesus. Whew, that is, to me, that is one of the fakest statements there is. And I would rather you say something different. I just don't know what, just something different. I'm ready to.
It's tricky. It is tricky. And I got many, many letters and cards where people wrote the most amazing things. And to this day, I'm still amazed that people could write all those words, because when I get a card to send to somebody, I'm still stuck. I'm like, what, and I've been through it and I'm still stuck. So I'm always, people shared stories that I wasn't aware of that happened. That was kind of cool. People just wrote the most amazing things. I think it's a gift or a talent that some people have, and I appreciated those because people have different relationships with the person that you've lost, and may have stories that you didn't even know about at all. So that was cool. But it's one of those things in society that it's definitely uncomfortable. People don't quite know what to say. Aside from that, sorry for your loss, and there's that awkward silence when and people are just so uncomfortable. They just don't know what to say. Really, they don't. So I, being the person in general that likes to help other people feel good, made a point of really almost avoiding the topic at all, because I didn't want them to be uncomfortable. And so in a bid to do, I would just avoid the topic because I know it would be uncomfortable or awkward for them, and I didn't want them to be uncomfortable.
I think the other thing people say that is kind of they have to think past themselves too is that well, you don't even understand how much I miss them, and you're trying to absorb what has taken place, what has happened from your mentality, your mind, your heart, your soul, and they have just placed themselves as if you're supposed to now, have that consoling moment for them now, and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, where we go with that one? Where we go with that?
Well, I am ready to bring this home. I do appreciate you all just coming in, sharing your heart, sharing your personal stories, giving your wisdom. And for those of you who are out there watching, listening, watching the replays, I really do hope that I was able to ask the questions to pull out the answers that are going to help you to make good decisions about interracial relationships, whether you're in one or someone else is in one, and even to make good decisions about your own dating, marriage, life, and just bust all of those myths that are just crazy. So, this is my last question here. I know that all three of us have some strong, strong attitude, opinion, thoughts about intercultural and interracial relationships. what is the message that you really want to get out to the world concerning this topic? Lee, go ahead.
I mean, one might say it's difficult enough even to find a person that you align with. The stars align, you have the same thoughts and philosophy and feelings and loves and desires and want to move forward together. And it's not the packaging isn't necessarily always necessarily what you were looking for. You know, you may have this image in your mind, they're going to be tall, dark, and handsome, or they're going to have whatever blonde and hair and blue eyes, or they're going to be 6 foot tall. We create these images of what we think we should be or what the person should be, and it doesn't necessarily always pan out that way. Sometimes you find love where you find love. It might be in a different culture. Maybe they're not 6 foot tall. Maybe there's all kinds of things. So I think if you take that out of it, depending on how strong the cultural differences are, because it can be, what else? The positives have to weigh what you perceive might be an issue. And if it's not an issue between the two of you, then it really doesn't really matter. It's about the two of you that have come together. And when you're in a relationship with whomever, you know, let's say they're a celebrity. Let's say they are a big exec for a company. Let's say they're a well-renowned in this, that, and the other. When you're with that person day after day after day, you're not waking up to the celebrity or the exec or the well-renowned person. It's John and Tom and Ben. It's a person you've come to know. You don't necessarily see them as this object or this label every day. You're aware of them having those positions, but they're a human to you, and so you go from there. They're a person or a human that you get along with, and you have more in common that you can work with than you don't. And then you don't, after a while, really notice a person's exterior so much. So I would just lead with what your go from the heart and work from there, because if it's just an exterior thing, I think it's not going to be very long lasting if that's the only thing that drives the bus, so to speak.
I think the biggest thing that I would tell anyone is to really kind of put to the side the preconceived notions, the misguided or misconceptions of what interracial dating is, and don't allow it to be tainted by those that are closed or in a 2 by 4 box, because only you can put yourself into a prison. Don't allow others to do it, and don't allow yourself to do it, because you want to give yourself a fighting chance when it comes to love. Because one thing you don't ever want to do is live with regret that you didn't take the opportunity, you didn't take the moment, and you didn't take the chance to really give that relationship what its due diligence really needed. So I think a lot of part of it is that rework your mindset, let go of your old traditions, break free of those that are going to be your anchor, that are going to drown you, and move into love. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Lead with your heart. Go there. Your inner self knows where you're supposed to be.
My thing is this: it is about your happiness, it's about your future. A lot of the things and a lot of the people who are saying some of the things won't be around later on when you're sitting there moping because you don't have anybody. It's about you, your future, your happiness. Do you want the happiness or you want to just let it go? People are human. Like I said earlier, they bleed the blood. We all bleed blood, the same color. And it's time for us to grow up and let go of the mess. If someone approaches you and they're from another culture, and maybe you're not interested, but at least be nice to them. Don't be ugly. Don't say nasty stuff, and don't embarrass them. We're all human. None of us want to be treated like whatever. So open your heart, open your mind. A lot of these things that we have going through our heads just don't even matter. And remember, this thing is growing real fast, and intercultural, interracial relationships are becoming the norm very fast. We all need to get on that train. Well, it's been my pleasure to be your host. I'm April the Loveologist. You can find me on Instagram at Authentic Love and April the Loveologist. You can find me on Facebook at Loveologist April and April the Loveologist. You can find me on YouTube where April the Loveologist and Authentic Love. You can also find all three of us on Clubhouse. Someday during the week, we're all doing something on Clubhouse and Instagram. And you can find us all on LinkedIn. If this has been a benefit for you or you've gotten some value out of this, be sure that you put in the comments or in the chat that you've gotten some benefit out of this. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday evening at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, as we will, remember, share with you a little tad about where you can meet some people from other cultures. And I'm going to tell you about me and who knows what else we may discuss next week. Again, thank you all for joining me and have a great afternoon. Happy Loving Month.
That's
Happy
right.
Loving Month,
Thank
everyone.
you.